You ever move somewhere and just feel like the place is holding its breath? That's how it was when I first moved into Maple Hollow. Quiet streets, freshly trimmed lawns, and that weird stillness that makes you look over your shoulder even in daylight. The HOA there, they ran things like a small-town government. Always watching, always correcting, and at the top of it all was Karen. Not a Karen. The Karen. HOA president, Range Rover, clipboard, and a smile that could curdle milk. When I bought my place at the edge of the neighborhood, right by the woods, Karen told me on day one, "We like things tidy around here. Hank, no spooky Halloween displays, no weird lights, no eccentricities." A few weeks in, strange things started happening. Every night around 3 in the morning, I'd hear something, a tap-tap against my window, like someone dragging a branch across the glass. At first I blamed raccoons, or maybe the wind, but then I started noticing other things, footprints, small barefoot ones, in the mud along the tree line. And my motion lights, the ones facing the woods, they'd flicker on and off like someone was pacing just outside the beam. Now, I'm not the superstitious type, but when something wakes you up at 3 in the morning, the same time every night, you start to wonder. So I told the HOA during their Saturday safety check meeting. Karen was there sipping her pumpkin spice latte like a queen on her throne. I said, "Hey, you guys ever notice anything weird near the old tree line? Lights flickering, things moving at night?" Karen almost spit out her drink. "Oh, Hank," she said, laughing loud enough for everyone to hear. "This isn't some horror movie. Maybe it's your imagination. Or maybe your house is just haunted." Everyone laughed, except me. That night, I sat on my porch with a flashlight and a thermos of coffee. I figured I'd prove to myself it was just animals. At around 2:58 a.m., I heard the sound again, that soft tap, tap, tap. Only this time, it came from the opposite window. I turned slowly, flashlight shaking in my hand, and for a split second, I saw someone. A pale figure, small, maybe a child, and standing by the tree line. The second the light hit them, they were gone. Next morning, I found the same barefoot prints leading from the woods straight to my porch. I took photos. I emailed them to the HOA. No one responded. By the next HOA meeting, Karen had a new decorations policy drafted. No excessive Halloween lighting or noise-making props allowed. I told her I wasn't planning a haunted house. I just wanted to know if someone had been trespassing. She smirked and said, "Maybe your ghost is bored. Try giving it candy." So I stopped talking. But I didn't stop watching. I installed a couple of trail cameras in the trees. I figured if something was moving out there, I'd catch it. For a few nights, nothing. Then on the 5th night, I got a notification from my camera app. Motion detected 3:02 a.m. When I checked the footage, my heart dropped. There it was. The same faint shape standing still between 2 trees. No face, just a blur of pale light. Almost human, but not. I brought the footage to the HOA meeting again. Karen laughed before I even hit play. "Hank, seriously," she said. "This is a community association, not a ghost hunters club." I hit play anyway. The video showed the figure moving slowly toward my fence, then vanishing mid-step. The room got quiet. One of the board members, Mike, an older guy who lived near me, said, That's near the old Holloway property, isn't it?" Karen glared at him. "Don't start that nonsense, Mike. There's no old Holloway curse." After the meeting, Mike caught me outside. "Hey, Hank," he said quietly. "That land used to be a family graveyard, long before the subdivision was built. The developers dug it up, poured concrete over it, but they didn't move the remains." He looked around before adding, "They just built over them. I didn't sleep that night." I sat by my window, watching the woods, wondering what kind of neighborhood I'd really moved into. Then came Halloween week. Karen went all out. Plastic pumpkins, strobe lights, fog machines, the whole deal. She told me, "If you want to do something spooky, just come to the HOA party. Leave the ghost stories at home." I tried to stay out of it. But on October 30th, something new happened. My neighbor, Susan, called me just after midnight, whispering, "Hank, did you see someone walking by your fence just now?" I said no. She said it looked like a girl in a white dress, barefoot. Her hair was wet. Then the call dropped. I ran outside. The fog was thick. my flashlight beam cutting through it like smoke. I saw movement by Karen's yard, her Halloween decorations swaying, the motion sensor lights blinking like crazy, and then silence. I was halfway back to my porch when I heard it again. Tap, 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 right behind me. I turned fast. Nothing there. But on the ground, wet footprints, leading away from my house, toward Karen's dot, and the next morning, Karen posted a message on the HOA board app. Reminder, no trespassing or pranks will be tolerated. We have cameras and we'll call the police. I replied. You might want to check those cameras around 3 a.m. She responded with a laughing emoji. That night was Halloween. Karen hosted her big block party, kids running around, parents laughing, music playing loud. I tried to stay polite, stopped by for a burger. Karen spotted me and said, "Hey, Ghostbuster, seen any spirits lately?" Everyone laughed again. I forced a smile and said, "Don't worry, Karen, you'll see them soon enough." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. I have 10 security cameras now. If a ghost shows up, I'll get it in 4K. I left early, went home, locked my doors, and watched from my porch as the party lights faded one by one. Around midnight, the neighborhood went still. The only sound was the rustling of dry leaves in the breeze. At 2:59, my porch light flickered, then went out. From my window, I could see Karen's house across the cul-de-sac. The motion lights around her garage clicked on one by one. Then, something moved in her yard, a white flicker, like a figure drifting through fog. Her cameras started flashing red. Motion detected, motion detected, motion detected. I watched her bedroom light turn on. Then I saw her silhouette at the window, frozen, staring down. Seconds later, I heard her scream. I grabbed my phone, thinking maybe someone was breaking in, but when I ran outside, her front yard was empty. Except her Halloween decorations were all on the ground, and the fog machine, still running, spewing mist across her driveway like smoke from a fire. I called her name. No answer. Then I saw her curtains twitch and she appeared at the door, pale, shaking, eyes wide. She said something was outside my window. I saw it on the cameras. I asked what it was. She said, "I don't know. It was standing in the middle of my yard, just staring at me." And then it smiled. When she said that, the hair on my arm stood up. She pulled me inside and showed me the security footage on her phone. And I swear, I've never seen anything like it. At exactly 3:01 a.m., her front camera showed a thin figure in a white dress, long dark hair hanging over its face. It walked toward the door, barefoot, and just stopped. Then as the camera autofocused, the figure's head lifted slightly. And right before it disappeared, you could see a faint grin. Karen turned the phone toward me, whispering, "That's the same thing you saw, isn't it?" I nodded. She said she wanted to call the police, but what would she even say? "Hi, there's a ghost in my yard." The next morning, she didn't show up to the HOA meeting. No one saw her for 2 days. 2 days after that night, the cul-de-sac felt different. People were quieter. You could feel it in the air. The kind of silence that settles after something happens that nobody wants to talk about. Karen's decorations were still up, but the lights stayed off. The fake tombstones on her lawn leaned sideways. The fog machine toppled over like it had been kicked. Her Range Rover hadn't moved since Halloween. By the third night, I saw her porch light blink on again. I figured maybe she'd finally shaken it off, but later I got a knock on my door. Gentle at first, then firmer. It was Karen, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked small. No clipboard, no perfect hair, no smugness. Just a trembling woman holding a flash drive in her hand. "Hank," she said, voice shaking. "I need you to look at something. Please." She sat at my kitchen table like someone on the edge of a breakdown while I plugged in the flash drive. There were 3 video clips, each one labeled with a timestamp from her security system. I hit play on the first one. It was 2:59 a.m. again. Same fog, same camera angle. The figure appeared at the end of her driveway, standing perfectly still. Karen whispered, "Watch." At 3:01, the motion lights flicked on and the figure moved closer. The camera caught something this time, clearer than before. You could see her face. A girl, maybe 9, 10 years old, soaked to the bone, Her skin pale like candle wax, hair slicked down with what looked like lake water. Karen covered her mouth. That's what I saw at my window. The second clip started. The figure was now standing right by her door, staring into the camera. You could see her lips move, just barely, like she was whispering something. Can you enhance the audio? Karen asked. I didn't need to. The camera's mic picked it up faintly. A low, wet whisper. Let me go. Karen started crying right there at my table. She said it every night, Hank. I checked the recordings and same words over and over. Let me go. What does that mean? I didn't know what to tell her. But that phrase stuck in my head all day. Let me go, let me go. That evening I went walking near the woods to where the subdivision fence met the lake. I'd always thought the land there felt off, like it didn't belong to the rest of the neighborhood. Half the trees were dead, the ground soft underfoot, and every so often you'd see pieces of old foundation buried in the dirt. That's when I found it. A rusted iron gate, half hidden behind vines. It looked like something out of another century. And hanging crooked on it was a sign, the letters barely legible. Holloway Family Cemetery, Mr. 1894. The name hit me. That's what Mike had said, the Holloway property. Behind that gate I counted 5 gravestones, cracked, faded, forgotten. But one of them was newer, maybe 30 years old. The name on it, Eliza Holloway, in 1986, 1995, 9 years old. A little girl. The next morning I showed the photos to Mike. He went pale. Good God, he said. I told Karen years ago that they built too close to the old burial plot. When they put the drainage pipes in, they hit part of it. I think they left some of it there. That same afternoon, Karen called me. Her voice was barely a whisper. Hank, it happened again. I didn't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see her. I told her what I'd found. The cemetery, the girl's grave. There was silence on the line. Then she said, that's impossible. The developer told us there were no graves left. Maybe not anymore, I said quietly. But someone's not at rest. That night Karen came over again. She couldn't stand being in her house alone. We sat on my porch, listening to the crickets and the occasional rustle from the woods. Around 3, like clockwork, the air went still. Then the sound came. Tap, tap, tap. We both froze. The motion light flicked on. And there she was. The girl stood by the fence, barefoot, dress-soaked, hair dripping. She wasn't glowing this time. She looked heartbreakingly real. Like she'd just crawled out of the lake. Karen whispered, Eliza. The girl tilted her head. For a second I swear I saw her smile. Not cruelly, but like she recognized her. Then Karen stood up and slowly, and took a step forward. What do you want? She asked. What do you need from me? The girl raised her arm and pointed, straight toward Karen's house. Then she vanished. Karen stared at me, shaking. The basement, she whispered. She's pointing to the basement. We drove over there, hearts pounding. The basement smelled damp like old wood and rot. There was a corner where the concrete looked newer, like someone had patched over it. Karen dropped to her knees, running her hand over the seam. They told us it was just water damage. That's why they poured over it. I don't know what made her do it. Guilt, fear, desperation. But she grabbed a hammer from the tool rack and started hitting the concrete. Hard. The first few strikes just echoed. Then with a crack, a chunk broke loose and underneath was dirt. Fresh, dark soil. She looked at me, tears streaking her face. Oh God. She's under here. I called the sheriff. They brought in ground radar the next morning. The results confirmed it. Human remains beneath the basement floor. Later they found pieces of a small coffin. Broken, splintered, mixed with gravel. Apparently, during construction, one of the graves had been disturbed. The developer buried what they couldn't move, poured concrete, and sold the lots. When they told Karen the truth, she didn't say a word. She just stood there, staring at the spot where the girl had appeared. That night, for the first time in months, the neighborhood was completely silent. No footsteps, no tapping, no motion alerts. Even the fog seemed to lift. The HOA called an emergency meeting to address the matter. Mike and I went, but Karen didn't show up. Her vice president, Linda, took over. She said Karen had decided to resign and take some time away. A week later, a moving truck showed up in front of Karen's house. She didn't say goodbye to anyone. Just loaded her stuff, got in the Range Rover, and drove off without looking back. The new owners came in a few weeks after. Nice couple, quiet. But sometimes when I walk my dog late at night, I still see the glow of their porch camera light, blinking like it's catching movement. And sometimes, it's pointed toward the lake. One night out of habit, I checked my own cameras again. Nothing unusual. Then I noticed a notification from the old trail cam I'd forgotten about, the one in the trees by the fence. Motion detected 3:01 a.m. I opened it, expecting another false alarm. But there she was again, the girl standing by the lake in that same white dress, except this time, she wasn't alone. Next to her stood another figure, taller, wearing a hooded jacket. The face wasn't visible, but I could see a hand resting gently on the girl's shoulder, and then they both turned and looked right at the camera. I shut the app immediately, my chest tightening. When I opened it again, the video file was gone. Deleted. I went outside just to breathe. The night was cold, quiet, almost too still. I stood by the fence looking toward the water. For a second, I thought I saw something move, a faint shimmer on the surface like someone brushing past it. Then, nothing. Maybe it's over. Maybe she finally found peace. But sometimes, when the fog rolls in thick and the lights start to flicker, I swear I can still hear that soft tapping, like she's reminding us she was here first. And here's the thing that gets me. If you asked anyone around Maple Hollow today, they'll tell you the ghost stories are just myths. Kids talk, but then they'll glance at my house at the edge of the woods, and their eyes will flicker for just a second, because deep down, we all know some things don't stay buried, no matter how much concrete you pour over them. So yeah, Karen laughed at my ghost warnings. But at 3 a.m., when her cameras caught the truth, the laughter stopped, and me? I stopped trying to prove what I saw. Some truths don't need believers, they just need witnesses. If you were in my shoes, would you have told the HOA? Or left it alone? Comment below what you think Karen deserved, and whether you believe some places really do hold on to the people who never left.